Good evening, this is the Oscar expert here with Brother Bro, and it's time for Critics' Choice Award predictions. The awards are really non-stop, and the Critics' Choice are on Sunday. Let's see if we can be right about what they'll do. Let's start at the top with picture. This seems kind of easy.
Do they normally go with what gets, like, the most nominations? Not always.
It's not necessarily about nomination tally, but when you're over-nominated like this, and you're also sweeping the critics groups, you have a decent chance of winning. Now, I hope that people can acknowledge, even if you don't think Everything Everywhere is winning Best Picture at the Oscars, that we're not being insane for thinking it's going to win the Critics' Choice. That's the consensus right now, is that's going to win there.
I still worry that The Fabelmans is going to win here.
I have a tough time because I feel like even Banshees is more likely to win here. So the question with the Critics' Choice is always, will they go with what they think is going to win the Oscar, or will they go with the Critics' Sweeper? It's usually a balance of those two.
The year of 1917 and Parasite was very interesting because they were obviously supposed to do Parasite. Like, that was sweeping the awards, and it was at the top of the critics' lists. And then they went with Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Even The Shape of Water, I don't know what people thought was winning that year.
I think people thought either Lady Bird or Three Billboards.
Power of the Dog, Nomadland were the critics' sweepers. Roma. La La Land was winning a little bit less awards than Moonlight, but that was still, like, pretty reasonable. Spotlight was the critics' sweeper. Boyhood, 12 Years a Slave. Argo, not necessarily. Zero Dark 30 was winning the most awards. The Artist, The Social Network. So usually it's what's winning most critics awards.
Usually, but really not always. Like, you just gave a lot of examples there.
I guess so. But in combination with the fact that Everything Everywhere got over-nominated, you expect the love to happen. The Critics' Choice also, and maybe even more in recent years, has recruited a lot of, like, online younger people to be part of their organization, and those people love Everything Everywhere.
I mean, I'm definitely cool going
I'm going to
with
predict that. I guess it could be Banshees, although they didn't go with Three Billboards. I think it's a little different. I guess they could go with The Fabelmans if they want to pull like a Once Upon a Time in Hollywood and they really just are trying to predict the Oscar, but that's hard to imagine. I mean, Banshees at least has some critics wins. Fabelmans, all it has is the Golden Globe at this point. Did they see the Golden Globes before voting? It's possible, because the deadline extended past the Golden Globes. A little bit more tricky is director, because Spielberg's number one on Gold Derby, but the Daniels are the critic sweeper. In my research, there's only 1 year since 2010 where the critic sweeper in director does not go on and win the Critics' Choice Award. And that is Ben Affleck for Argo.
But it almost happened with 1917 and Parasite.
Yeah, but it also didn't happen. It did and it did not happen. And so, yeah, that would be like them going with the Globes winner, which is Spielberg. I think the correlation between the director sweeper winning with critics circles and then winning a Critics' Choice is pretty strong. So I'm going to go with Daniels. I'm not necessarily sold on it happening. If they lose here, I'm going to be like, goddamn, because how did they win at that point, really?
That would make Spielberg look really strong, too.
Yeah, well, he'd be like the unequivocal frontrunner at that point. If even they can't go for him.
Like, the Daniels just sweep the critic awards, and then Spielberg, like, only sweeps the industry awards.
DGA would have to turn it around at that point, and I do not think that's likely. Although BAFTA will not go for Spielberg. As we saw, BAFTA will not go for Spielberg.
I want to imagine that the Critics' Choice are trying to give Everything Everywhere a boost because they've nominated it so much.
I absolutely think they are. And it's
does the Oscar predicting part of them go, well, I think Spielberg's going to win the Oscar, so...
I can't imagine that many of them actually think like that. Like, I can't...
But what if they just went, okay, well, I love Spielberg, so him and director, well, that's Everything Everywhere in picture.
Sure, but the critics groups haven't been doing that. The sweep's been unanimous for the Daniels, even more so than picture prizes. It has been unanimous. So the only director win Spielberg has is NBR and Golden Globe. He literally has not won a critics group. He has not won a single one, but the same could have been said about Sam Mendes 1917, although Bong Joon-ho also won. I'm going to go with Daniels, and I think I have a decent chance of being right over Gold Derby on this one. Even Mad Max Fury Road won director at Critics' Choice. And that was sweeping with critics. Yeah, it did. Yeah. Almost always correlates in this particular category. Some categories more than others, but this one, yeah.
I'll go with it. I'll stick with it.
Even more tricky territory here with Best Actress.
This is very hard.
Okay, literally...
I think this is a coin toss.
On my count for awards overall this year, Michelle Yeoh and Cate Blanchett are absolutely tied. Both have 17 wins. There is no way to know what's going on. There's literally no way to predict this award. I almost want to just do whatever you don't do, so that one of us can be right. Like,
okay,
I actually have no clue.
So I feel like, in a way, Cate Blanchett is that like specialty critics pick, where they're like, you are the best, like, you're the best performance. And then to give it to Michelle Yeoh is like boosting the narrative that they want to get behind. Kind of like how Chadwick Boseman wins for Ma Rainey and Anthony Hopkins doesn't for The Father, because they're like behind the story, you know?
Michelle Yeoh's her story is more fun because she's never won and she has the whole career behind her. Kate Blanchett, and it seems she's edging out Kate Blanchett on Gold Derby, which I kind of agree that she has the edge. Everybody knows this category is nearly 50-50. It's just going to be surprising what wins. Maybe the category I'm looking forward to most.
What about Best Actor, though?
That's funny because
the top 4 races are the most insane this year. They're all really fucking mixed up.
I'm not going with Brendan Fraser because the Critics' Choice
didn't nominate The Whale.
Yeah, they didn't nominate The Whale, and they do go for things that they nominate. They did nominate Darkest Hour, and they gave it to Gary Oldman. They did not nominate Bohemian Rhapsody, and then they went for Christian Bale and Vice. Another example of Critics' Choice differing from the Oscar here is when they gave it to Michael Keaton, the early Critics frontrunner, over Eddie Redmayne, who really was more of an industry thing.
The example I said with Chadwick Boseman,
yeah,
where they gave it to him over Anthony Hopkins because they didn't nominate The Father. They didn't care.
Anthony Hopkins was surprisingly not winning. He was not getting as many critics mentions as Riz Ahmed or Chadwick Boseman.
Because he didn't have a moment, but that's the same thing as The Whale. That's literally what The Whale is.
Yeah, and also critics fucking hate The Whale. I think Colin Farrell here, Austin Butler maybe has a case, but the guy can't really win any critics award. If he was doing like as good as Brendan Fraser with critics awards, I'd be like watching out for him because as we know, Joaquin Phoenix can win for Joker, even though Adam Driver is the sweeper. If the race looked like it was definitely going one way for the Oscar, like if it was definitely Austin Butler, I might go with Austin Butler, but that's not the case.
Colin Farrell wasn't in this category. Would you pick Austin Butler?
I would over Brendan Fraser, yeah. Because Elvis has some noms.
I think it's going to be Butler or Farrell here. I think Brendan Fraser, in an interesting way, unexpectedly, looks poised to have a comeback within the greater narrative of his comeback to acting.
And The Whale has more nominations at SAG than Elvis.
Yeah, well, whatever. I mean, I don't care about that. I think Colin Farrell, though.
Supporting actress. Yes. I've been saying for a while that I think the winner will be Carrie Condon. But now, I may make a change to that.
Do you think that the critics have seen the Golden Globes and are going to vote based on what they saw?
Kind of.
Is that possible?
Kind of.
Do they have enough time to...
Yeah, they have enough time. The ballots are due after the Globes.
Another example of a critic sweeper is Kristen Stewart. And
yeah,
she did... And then they gave it to Jessica Chastain. So
because that was after SAG, which was a weird scheduled year. And they said
SAG.
They saw what SAG did, and they said, we would like to support this. They get very influenced by what they see winning on TV. Allison Janney and I, Tonya over Laurie Metcalf. I feel like if they didn't watch the Golden Globes, that could have gone to Laurie
Rockwell
Metcalf.
over Willem Dafoe.
Yeah, this may not go to the critics sweeper. Carrie Condon is winning the most critics awards by a decent margin, but it's been pretty split.
Stephanie Sue's winning a lot, no?
She's winning some. Do you
think she has a shot?
I would put her in number 3. But I think Angela Bassett, when she won the Golden Globe and people said, damn, we can give Angela Bassett an Oscar this year. We can all get together and do this. And I think they're going to follow on it. And also, this was my best moment of predicting so far, was predicting Angela Bassett for the Globe. So I'm going to keep doing it until I'm wrong, I guess. I think maybe Carrie Condon takes BAFTA, but if Angela Bassett has everything else, she may very well win the Oscar. And I think a lot of people may be like, yeah, let's make it happen. Because Carrie Condon, again, breakout. You going to go with Angela Bassett too?
Yes.
Supporting actor, we all know.
We don't need to talk about this.
We don't even need to talk about it.
Ke Huy Quan, done. Goodbye.
Original screenplay,
I'm going with Banshees.
Banshees. It could be Everything Everywhere.
Meh.
Let me tell you a story about them giving Belfast the award over Licorice Pizza. Because...
Was that the story?
That's the story.
Okay.
Where it's like, aren't you the critics?
I think the point is when you say, aren't you the critics? The answer is no. No, we're not the critics. I don't know who we are, but we're not critics. But we're predicting them like they're critics.
We are? Because we just said Angela Bassett.
Well, except for that.
Well, yeah, you got to make some exceptions. I would say like 80% of the awards are what the critics are giving it to for the most part. Like 75%. Yeah. Adapted screenplay. Now, I'm just going to say I'm worried about the Oscar race not going to Polly. Yeah. I'm worried that somehow The Whale will win, which I would not be happy about. Even though I like The Whale, I would not be happy about it winning screenplay over Women Talking.
Yeah,
I'm worried that WGA is going to give it to Rian Johnson, which I don't hate. But I still want Women Talking to win. Like, I'm very worried. But Critics' Choice, they will go with
Women Talking.
Women Talking.
Yeah.
And it's also the only movie here in Best... Well,
it did well here. I mean, it got a supporting actress nomination.
Yeah. Glass Onion, though, had a lot of nominations, too. That's the runner-up, probably. The Whale has a very similar performance at Critics' Choice to The Father, where it has 4 acting nominations.
The Whale is The Father in many ways, except that
people like
critics
The Father
don't
more.
fucking like The Father. The Whale.
Ensemble is a tricky category because I would say they go with SAG half or maybe even less than half of the time.
I'm not going to predict Everything Everywhere here.
Well, what do you want to pick? Because I think if Everything Everywhere loses, it's either going to be Banshees or Women Talking.
Wait, do they usually go for something that's nominated for SAG? Because I feel like I can't predict.
Not even always. Nominated. I mean, The Favorite did get nominated for SAG and it still won. This is always a tricky category.
It's kind of random. It feels kind of random whenever.
Last year was Belfast. Coda wasn't even nominated though. Trial of Chicago 7 won. The Irishman beating out Once Upon a Time in Hollywood and Knives Out. The Favorite beat out Black Panther. 3 Billboards. Moonlight. Spotlight. Birdman.
One thing's clear here. They like to go with movies that are pretty in the top contention for the Best Picture award.
And last year, I remember on Gold Derby, everybody was predicting West Side Story. They went with Belfast. I would say, like, Everything Everywhere seems like... It seems like the movie they would vote for because of what I think their tastes are. But this category doesn't always make, like, sense to me.
I actually think I would say maybe The Fabelmans. It kind of feels like the Belfast or Trial of Chicago 7 has a big cast.
That's true, but
am I wrong? Also, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood didn't win. The Irishman beat it.
That's correct. I don't know how weird.
So it's like really hard to predict here. I mean, they gave the award to Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and they gave it screenplay.
And it could be Banshees. It could be Fabelmans too. I could see. The only reason I don't want to say Everything Everywhere is because it's often not what I think it's going to be.
I might say Banshees.
That's not a bad pick.
Just imagine we're watching it on the TV. They're opening the envelope. What's the first thought that comes to your head? Oh shit, it's going to be.
You're right. It's going to be Banshees. Okay. Young actor. I'm going to go with Gabriel LaBelle for The Fabelmans. It could be Frankie Corio in Aftersun, but last year they gave it to Jude Hill in Belfast.
Yeah, that's probably good.
Comedy film. This one can also be a little counterintuitive because you would just think, oh, they'll go with whatever is their favorite in Best Picture, but this often doesn't happen. They will go with the movie that they think is like more funny and serves more as a pure comedy, but they will sometimes go for the movie that's just their favorite in Best Picture. Last year, Licorice Pizza won. Palm Springs won, but there were no Best Picture nominees nominated. Dolomite beat The Farewell, Jojo Rabbit, and Knives Out. Crazy Rich Asians beat The Favorite. The Big Sick beat I, Tonya, and Lady Bird.
It's really random.
I feel like Glass Onion is a contender. Banshees is a contender, but that's also not really like that much of a comedy.
That's a contender.
It's a sad movie, though.
It doesn't matter.
Everything Everywhere. I guess I'll go with Everything Everywhere.
I feel like if you think they're going to vote for the movie in Best Picture, then you think they won't vote for it here because... I mean, I'm looking at these winners and...
Yeah, I guess they've never given it to a movie that they've also given Best Picture. But did they ever have the opportunity to? I'm not sure.
I would like to see Triangle of Sadness win here. Because that's also like a pure comedy to me.
They didn't even nominate it for screenplay.
Alright, let me go with Glass Onion.
Everything Everywhere is pretty fucking goofy. That's pretty comedy.
Yeah, I actually did have my vision said Everything Everywhere.
Oh, is you going to change that?
Yeah, I'll change it.
Okay. Animated feature, Pinocchio.
We're done. That's it.
Marcel has a chance at upsetting. It has a chance.
You think so?
Yeah, but I don't think it's huge.
I can't understand like the love behind Marcel the Shell. Like I know he's cute, but that's as much as you get from me.
Foreign film. I think RRR. I think
they did nominate that in Best Picture. So.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Duh. Okay.
Yeah.
Duh. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a duh actually. It's kind of a duh. And they're gonna give it Best Song too. They're gonna have a little.
I agree. They'll give it Best Song. Cinematography. Top Gun Maverick. I have to agree. I have to agree.
That's it.
We'll just breeze through, I guess, the easy ones. Oh, this is not easy. Costume design. This is Black Panther versus Elvis. I just don't know. I think
Black Panther. They actually did give the first Black Panther production design and costumes.
Yeah, but the first Black Panther was the first Black Panther.
Sure, but this one I think is still going to win costumes at the Oscars.
I agree, and they also gave it to Dolomite, and that was not a Best Picture nominee. So going with Elvis is kind of because it's a Best Picture nominee, but the most showy costumes here, that's Wakanda Forever.
Yeah.
So I will go with Wakanda Forever. Although Elvis maybe can win the Oscar, we'll see. Editing, Gold Derby thinks it's Top Gun Maverick. I disagree.
That's pretty interesting, though. Like, I could see it going there. I am leaning towards them doing Everything Everywhere. Baby Driver is an interesting one. That was like, okay, you're going to get a nomination because of what you did. but they gave it the win with Dunkirk. I feel like that actually looks good for Everything Everywhere, because that kind of looks like it's gonna maybe lose the edge to Top Gun Maverick at the big industry awards.
BAFTA, I think, is going to go Top Gun Maverick.
They went with West Side Story last year.
They did. People thought they would go with Dune, though. They went with Birdman in 1917 here.
First Man. Baby Driver and Dunkirk tied.
And Everything Everywhere, if you want to, take into account Critics Awards, that has 14 wins. Top Gun has 1 win.
Wow.
So that's pretty stark.
Holy shit.
That's pretty stark.
Holy shit.
I definitely will go with Everything Everywhere.
I really need it to win here. I actually think if it doesn't win here, it's kind of atrocious, because Top Gun Maverick was a thrilling movie, but Everything Everywhere's editing was just innovative. Like, the movie's nothing without the editing. There's probably so many versions of the film that you could have made too, and I feel like it was like perfectly put together.
Makeup. This one's really, really tough. I don't know if it's Elvis or The Whale. Maybe the Batman comes and sneaks in too. The Whale not being nominated in Best Picture, I'm trying to figure out how much I care. Previous winners: Tammy Faye, Ma Rainey, Bombshell, Vice, Darkest Hour. Those are all Oscar winners. And then you have a streak of non-Oscar winners: Jackie, Mad Max, Guardians of the Galaxy, American Hustle, Cloud Atlas. I don't know why, but I look at this and I think maybe Elvis. And they also hate The Whale, and some of them might have a problem with the makeup.
Usually the makeup winner is kind of like obvious, but this year is a little weird in makeup.
They've given it to a lot of things where they transform people into real people. Like, Jackie winning is like, that's just you liking the movie, and also it's a real person, but the makeup wasn't even that crazy. I think whatever happens to the Oscar in actor is what will happen in makeup.
Gotta do the telepathy again, because my telepathy gave me Angela Bassett, but it also gave me her saying a speech about Chadwick Boseman, which was incorrect.
I feel like Elvis did something. Yeah.
I don't know why. The little easy bake oven in my brain just popped out Elvis. I don't know.
Score? Oh, thank God. Gold Derby had Fabelmans out front, but now Babylon's out front. Babylon's winning score here.
Correct.
If Babylon loses score at the Oscars, then I don't know what's runner-up. I don't know what's winning, but at least here, it's going to be Babylon.
Correct.
Song? I think RRR is going to be on its way to surpassing Top Gun on Gold Derby.
Well, you can see the odds are extremely tight. 19/5 is nearly the same as...
It used to be number 3, and now it's number 2. I can absolutely see that happening. It makes the most sense. Now, here's where I hope I'm getting a freebie on Gold Derby, because production design, they have Avatar: The Way of Water out front, and number 2 is Black Panther, which I think is like number 5 or 6 for the Oscar nomination. I feel like why not Babylon? That's always seemed like the most no-brainer to me. If it doesn't get a Best Picture nomination,
and they treated Babylon like it was a Best Picture juggernaut.
Oh yeah, they liked it a lot.
Based on the nominations they gave it.
Yeah.
I want to go with Babylon here also.
Maybe Way of Water takes it over if Babylon can't get into Best Picture, and they need to find an alternate option, but I feel like Babylon makes the most sense. A lot of times they go pretty easy in the text and predictable. Visual effects is Avatar: The Way of Water. We don't need to discuss it.
Yeah.
And that's it. I think that's fine.
They're usually pretty predictable.
Usually. I remember one year, like, they were going nuts in the tech categories or something.
Well, the year that they didn't give it to Parasite was fucking awful.
That was really
awful.
That was a shame.
They made the Oscars, like, have to step in and correct everybody. Like,
and
that's where I like the Oscars. You know, they can come in and they can correct.
Sometimes.
They don't always
sometimes
do
not.
They don't always do. And also, the Oscars come up with some pretty great nominations sometimes that nobody else does.
If Everything Everywhere loses at Critics' Choice to The Fabelmans or Banshees, would you still be like, well, maybe it's Parasite? Or would you say, okay,
yes.
No? Really?
Because
even Parasite won director, though.
Oh, if it loses director and picture?
Yeah, if it lost director and picture and screenplay.
Oh, then I don't think I could call it. I don't think I actually think that might like change. Like I don't know what I would predict though. I don't know. But, like how can I predict the Fabelmans? Can I really
for Best Picture?
Start predicting the Fabelmans for picture director?
It feels wrong. It feels wrong.
I could though. I could do it because we know that movie was supposed to win supporting actress and it would have been sweeping if they didn't put her in. So it's like picture, director, supporting actress ain't a bad package either.
Well, that's a fake hypothetical package.
Yeah, well, the BAFTAs did not nominate Coda.
Yeah,
and then Coda won at the Oscars.
Yeah, but
that would be like the Fabelmans. They actually might still nominate the Fabelmans in a way.
Yeah, but the BAFTAs gave Coda supporting actor and screenplay because they realized later that they actually did want to give it Best Picture and it was too late.
That's That's correct.
Like that beat Power of the Dog in adapted screenplay. Even though Power of the Dog won
That's
picture.
like, you know what that's like?
That's regret there.
You know what that's like? That's like if The Whale wins screenplay at the BAFTAs. That would be like, oh, fuck.
Yeah, that's right.
That would
that's
be
right.
like...
But that might not even get nominated. Those are the Critics' Choice predictions. And you will stay tuned for us reacting to them on Sunday. Thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing.
Do you think the Fablemans will start sweeping?